Oh, those highs and lows. Only one way that the river flows. Was it comedy or tragedy? Who really knows? Highs and lows. I've had highs and lows. To those highs and lows.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Sunshine Spotlight. And I don't know if this guy really needs an introduction. Friend of the podcast, friend of the festival, just a friend. Author, songwriter, raconteur, Stephen Kellogg. Stephen, sir, how are you?
I'm good. It's good to see your face, James Campion. Really good to see your face.
It's really good to see you, man. Love the stuff from the road. Great tour. Seeing you out playing music again. When I texted you originally to do this, I said, well, maybe we'll do it later when you have more new music. You're like, I have so much stuff I want to talk about. So come on, share with me this whole experience coming out of the pandemic, what this tour has meant to you. Toad the Wet Sprocket, amazing stories, I'm sure.
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to get in while it's like when you come back from a big trip or something, those first couple days, it's all alive and it's with you and it's fresh. And I wanted to talk to you before it kind of got off the frequency, It just, because going into, it was a six week proper tour, but that with quite a few dates before that. So it was a couple months of really being on the road, and going into it, I was so not sure if I wanted to be back on the road. I just was like, I don't know if this is even what I want. And my wife, Kirsten, who lovely, sweet, supportive person.
Yes, Kirsten, love her.
She said, Stephen, you got to stop acting like a little bitch and just get back out there and do this. Like, it's what you're born to do. Go do it,
That's why you married her.
It is why I married. And I'm all, I'm like, you're not supposed to use that word. And she's like, no, you're not supposed to use that word. I'm like, oh, man. So the thing is, I did struggle the first couple weeks. I mean, the shows were cool, but I just thought, is this even how I want to be spending my days? And by the end of it, I was alive again and felt like, wow, we can do this. Like, COVID is not going away and challenges of a health nature are not going away, but we're going to it became clear to me that you can learn how to operate. Like, we can continue to move in a safe, cool way that respects our fellow human beings and also brings music to the masses, and so it was a journey from afraid and not altogether excited to be out there to this is amazing and we need this and we can do it safely. And there were a lot of movements within that journey.
So, we should mention, if people don't know, and a lot of people do know you through our channel, certainly, Stephen is a very committed family man, loves to be home with his family. And I know if you've seen the documentary on Amazon Prime about him, he's always battled with that. You've always battled with that kind of balance anyway. And then this thing happens. Do you remember one of the conversations we had literally like a week into this pandemic? You had this whole thing planned where the whole family can go to Mexico and play music. And you were like, what should I do, James? And of course, I'm like, just go. But you were like, I don't know, man. And that was a big deal. You could have had this whole thing paid for, a beautiful trip, and played in another country. And it got scuttled. And then, of course, you and I were supposed to do book stuff in Boston and New York City. That got scuttled. So your life went from 60 to 0 in no time, but you had to make those choices about family and the road anyway.
And they were like so many people, it was really tough because I just thought this is like a chance for my kids to take surf lessons and to see Mexico for the first time. And, and it really bummed out the kids. I mean, especially my littlest, Greta, was, I think, very embarrassed. She had told her friends she was going. All the advice we got up until the day we were supposed to fly out and decided not to was, hey, just go for it. And the people
and it seems crazy now, Stephen, it seems crazy now, but then nobody knew the extent of this. The idea that we wouldn't leave our homes for 6 months was crazy. When they said 6 weeks, we were like, what? That's when this was, right? Like March, April.
Yeah, no, it was right. It was right on that, crossroads moment. And the people who hosted the event, they didn't actually come back to America for like 6 weeks. I don't know if that was just a choice that they made,
right?
But it was like they ended up staying down there, and they kept saying, "Well, worst thing happens is you're on the beach in Mexico," and I'm like, I don't want to be on the beach in Mexico.
They can't get back.
I want to be in New England with my cat. Like I'm not into that. That's right. We all have different happy places.
Sure.
And the thing that happened though was, those first couple months were so, it's all scary still, but those first couple months where we had so little information was such a scary moment in the history of my existence. And I just not knowing, but then suddenly discovering how beautiful the mundane stuff that I had always kind of thought, it's cool to tuck your kids in. I am a family guy, but I don't think I realized how much you miss on a day-to-day basis by being around people. If you choose to observe and embrace the mundane, for lack of a better word, it's amazing, just what it's like to cook meals day in and day out, and the little subtleties of the conversations. Like I learned how special that was, I would say, through this, and then suddenly to go back to work, like many, many other people, I was like, I don't know if I want to go do that. This is awesome. I've been missing something really important all these years.
Right. But then when you got on the road, I'm sure you missed that too.
Well, but not at first. At first I was like, I didn't miss this. Like I didn't miss it. I didn't miss people talking while I'm trying to play a show. You do a virtual show, you just share what you share. And you go to a thing and some drunk dude's at the back, he's talking. Fuck him. Like, I hate that shit. I didn't miss that at all.
Right. And you did a ton of those shows. Yeah, you did a ton of those shows from your basement, and they were wonderful. I saw one of those things. You had this beautiful opening and this whole thing happening, and you had full control, and you could be around your family and still kind of communicate. But so you didn't miss the asshole in the back, but you had to miss, you sent me this clip, and I want to play it at one point in this conversation. Then I want to play a song that you sent me too, but you sent me this clip of you singing with everyone singing. Come on. That is what you do it for.
No, and as those moments racked up on this last tour, I was like, oh yeah, this is awesome. And also, like, in terms of what I want to do artistically with the next 10 years of my life, like, that started to dawn on me increasingly during this tour. And that does require a live audience. You need an audience to tell you, this story's funny. This one, not as funny. Like, you need that feedback, and it's fun to get it, and it's useful. And knowing directly someone is moved to laugh or to cry or to have a strong emotional response. Very important. So I did miss that. But it wasn't like this immediate thing that everybody, it must be so good to be back on the road. No, I would say on balance, it was hard and it was painful and it hurt. And a lot of it is dealing with people many of whom I've realized I'm not that wild about. People can be really awful. We've seen that as much as we've seen how great people can be. People are very selfish and very self-centered, and you're kind of like, I don't really like the way a lot of people are who come out to a show and go like, please me or whatever. Now, that's sort of a negative, grim view, but it took me kind of working through just seeing those people when I first got back out. Like, I didn't want to have to associate with this guy or the ornery sound guy who calls me opener. That's so rude. There's 2 acts on the show. Learn both their names. If you want to save our stages, give us a stage worth saving. I respect you and learn your name. Learn my fucking name. I'm 45. I've been doing this 20 years. It pisses me off, I don't want to be called opener, Mm-hmm. So when I first got out, that's all I saw, James. And as it wore on, I'm like, no. we're playing for the big prize. We can work through this other bullshit because it's not that important. But at first, it's all I saw, you know?
Wow. But I want to play.
Wow. You're like, you got an axe to grind. That's why I wanted to get on the show now while I was fired up.
You should say these things because you are the voice. That's why I started doing the show, is to have people voice what they're doing, what they're working on, get their stuff out there. You and I have had dozens of conversations, and you've always been brutally honest with me. And in this case, what you're saying is what a lot of performers want to say. We're putting our guts out there. We're leaving our families. We're leaving our safe places. We're getting in vans. We're staying in crappy hotels. We're doing this so we can perform for you. We just want to be respected. We want to know that we're loved out there. Not even loved, but just be quiet for a minute and listen to the songs. That's why you came.
Show, yeah, unless it's not that type of show. If it's like a party show and it's like if it's a reggae festival outdoors,
right, a metal show,
dance, but don't come see a singer-songwriter with just an acoustic guitar and carry on and get hammered at the back bar. Do not do it. It's rude. You don't go see a comedian and not listen to the jokes. What the hell is the point of that? And yet you come to my show, a storyteller, and you don't listen to the fucking stories? No, we're not going to do that anymore. Like, I'm not going to be okay with that. No. Right. But I didn't know that. I mean, it took me, I had to get there. And now that I'm there, I'm not going back. And it's good to say it out loud because it will allow me to cultivate what I'm trying to build here.
So what you're saying is you're not going to go on the road in the capacity you just did, opening up for another band or do it like a long form tour. Is that what you're saying?
No, I will absolutely do that. But we will do this unequivocally. I'm going to do everything that I can to create environments that befit the show that I'm doing. For so many years, we go out and we do a solo acoustic listening room type show, and you put it in a rock and roll room with no seats, and you start the show at 9:30, and you expect people to just behave in a certain way. It just doesn't work. There's no point in doing it. No matter how much money that venue says, hey, we'll give you this. It's just no point in it. You need to be clear with the people, hey, this is what we're doing this tour. You need to put it in the right environments. If a venue, I remember one venue said, what, does Stephen have a bedtime? He can't stay up late. No, but Stephen's not going to come to your venue, And if you don't understand, and if you're not going to get me the freaking postcards from my daughters, it doesn't say much about your commitment to this show. Because you can't say, well, that costs, we have a budget. It's $2. It's just like, respect who I am, and I guarantee you I will come in and I will learn the names of the crew. I will do my best to promote this show. Thank God I got to open this tour. I want to open more tours, but I will show up and do my best, and I expect that the people I'm working with will do their best. If you invite me on your tour, include me in the advertising. I want to be part of this.
Right, I know you mentioned that. Right, you mentioned that in your social media, and I was wondering where you were getting at with that, but now it makes sense. It's just another offshoot of being called the opener.
The opener, which to be clear, had not Toad the Wet Sprocket were incredible hosts, and this was one of the best tours I've ever done in my life. People bought merch, the crowds were wonderful, but we were in gorgeous theaters. I had some threshold for the fact that I am the opener and people are being seated. It wasn't like I just, hey, do you know who I am? Just give me a chance. Mm-hmm. Just give me a chance. And if it's not your thing, that's okay. But I am, when I do a show, I will bring the entire weight of my soul to the show every time. And if the audience doesn't meet me where I'm at, I will judge the shit out of you as an audience, just like you're judging me, It's
good. It's a two-way street. Art is a two-way street. Performance, two-way street. Now, speaking of that, there's two clips that you sent me I want to play on the show. I've never done this before, but now that you've said this, the clip that you send me with everybody singing, you always end the show with Last Man Standing, which I now used to sometimes you do the see you later. You do see you later, but it's one of your last
popular. They're popular closers, although this tour, less, like every 4 or 5 nights, these ones popped up. I really, the Deadhead guy went bananas. I mixed these sets up like crazy.
Okay, so when this thing the clip that you sent me, when everyone's singing "The Last One Standing," because I love how you change it there, so everybody is included.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone is singing this. This is so beautiful, and that's why I wanted to share it with the audience. Where is this, and how does one get from where you start off with just you and an acoustic guitar to something that looks like you have that many people that looks like an Irish pub, like at 1 a.m.?
So here was the thing. Most of the tour we just did was indoors. Like I said, nice theaters, good rooms. But as we both know, right now, people mixed comfort with indoor shows. So we had one outdoor show on this tour, and there were about 5 times as many people as the average crowd. So there's, I don't know, 2,500, 3,000 people, something like that. And I'm still doing a fairly intimate, subdued solo acoustic thing. You know, I really don't think that Stephen Kellogg was put on this earth to like fire the party up solo acoustic. I love rock and roll. I always will. But if I'm playing solo, that's not my ace in the deck, is like, I'm going to rock your faces up. So I'm looking at this situation. It's a much bigger crowd than we've been playing to. And our merchandise helper calls about 30 minutes before doors and says, I can't make it. So I'm not going to be able to help you and your single tour manager out tonight. We've got this large venue, as you see in the clip. It's just me and Shady. Shady's job is also to get my stuff off stage so that we can be respectful of the changeover and getting towed out on time. I take that stuff very seriously. I don't play over my set. I don't want to disrespect and be like, yo, somebody else get my stuff off. So on a whim, I got the idea because Shady goes, we don't have any help, so we're not going to have everybody at merch. And we needed to sell that merch every night to pay the bills. Like, it was a non-option. Like, I have to try to sell.
Bottom line.
So I'm like, we got to be out there. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to step off to the side, lead a sing-along, which I hadn't done at that point in the tour. You're going to strike me, and then we're going to walk up to the merch together. So I'll keep this going as long as it takes to get your stuff off. So we did this thing, and after the show, people are like, you guys do that every night. No, we don't do it every night. We do it when our merch person doesn't show up. So we literally, I explained to them, before this song starts, just so you know, this is going to kind of go down. We're going to do it. We're going to do it all. And so in the clip, you see, that was the promoter who took it, because he was the guy who said to me, he's like, we've been doing this venue in Grand Rapids, Michigan. We've been doing this a long time. I've not seen that. And I had no idea if the audience would embrace this. And I opened with Thanksgiving that night also on a whim. Like, this could go one of 2 ways. People could be like, who is this self-indulgent prick playing a 10-minute song? But I knew that you need, when you're playing solo and you're unknown and it's an outdoor environment, you need, your gestures need to be grand, or you don't really stand a chance of having any impact. And the thing is, old me would have very much been too afraid to stick his neck out there, because that could have all just bombed. But I'm 45. Like, what do I care? I've got to swing hard or this thing's useless.
Right.
So I would rather have just had that whole thing fail and walked off and been like, and had a good laugh about it later. But it didn't happen, and that's what was fun. The crowd really embraced it, and Shady and I will always have that fun memory of me in my wireless mic urging him along. So
yeah, let's take a look at this, and when we come back, I want to talk about a couple more things with Stephen Kellogg. Check this out. This is at Grand Rapids, Michigan, last song before you run to the merch table.
Yep.
Gonna be the last one to say that tonight. I'm gonna be the last one. I'm gonna be the last one. That's right. We're gonna be the last one that say that tonight. We're gonna do like 3 more. I'm gonna be the last one. I'm gonna be the last one. One, stay there tonight. Let's do like 3 more. Let's take a second. I'm gonna be the last ones. All right. I'm gonna be the last ones. Don't stop. Yeah. I'm gonna be the last ones standing tonight. Keep going. All right. Here we go. We're gonna be the last ones. That's right. We're gonna be the last ones. We're gonna be the last ones standing tonight. Shady needs about 20 more seconds. Be the last one. We're gonna be the last one. Yeah, yeah. We're gonna be the last ones standing tonight. Woo! Say we're gonna be the last one. He's almost here. We're gonna be the last one. Hopeful. We're gonna be the last ones standing tonight. Shady, I don't know how to use the credit card. Man. Come on. We're gonna be the last one. I'll follow you the way. We're gonna be the last one. Let's go. We're gonna be the last one standing tonight. This is the last one. Here we go. We're gonna be the last ones. We're gonna be the last ones. We're gonna be the last ones standing tonight. I'll never forget this. Thank you all very much. See you soon.
There it is, a little taste of the end of Stephen Kellogg's set from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Stephen's with us on the Sunshine Spotlight show. All right, a couple of things. I want to get out some bookkeeping here. You had 2 releases in 2020. It's interesting. I must thank Stephen publicly. I have thanked him privately. I have a book coming out on Hey Jude called Take a Sad Song, the emotional currency of Hey Jude. Stephen was nice enough to be one of the songwriters I interviewed to sort of deconstruct the song and talk about his own experience of songwriting, how it touches audiences. But one thing you said to me that really stuck with me, and I put it in the book, you said during 2020, because of the pandemic, because of the riots in the streets and the political unrest, and then of course exactly what happened at the end of the beginning of this year on January 6th, that you were having a hard time writing. Like where you usually go for subjects was a little much. You felt trite, or maybe you couldn't tap into that. In 2020, though, you wrote a song called "I've Had Enough," which pretty much I was so proud of you because I said, "Hey, he kind of did it." And then you had another one, "Love Me as I Am," which are 2 songs that on one of a social level and a personal level talk about what we all went through. Is that fair to say? Because having followed you through the years now and listened back to your past catalog, and of course, Objects in the Mirror being so personal, were those songs what kind of you were able to get out because of everything that happened to us in 2020?
Yeah. Especially I've Had Enough felt like, okay, I guess this is what I have to say. You know, I just like that moment when we talked, I just thought, I'm not sure what I can add to this larger conversation, and singing about the things that I usually sing about, I'm too distracted by all that's going on to really dive into those weeds. And then I've Had Enough, which I co-wrote with Eric Donnelly, who you know, and who I've co-written a lot with in the last few years. And you know, he has a good way. The initial draft of I've Had Enough kind of had a little more vitriol in it, and Eric's an incredibly kind person and a very much a devil's advocate, to the point where it can be I can get annoyed with it, like, come on, Eric, really, we gotta think about what this person's thinking. But to sort of shoot some of the frustration and hints of protest through the lens of Eric Donnelly's empathy and, ability to see all sides, I think it landed in a place that felt appropriate for me, and it made a song that is a unique in my catalog and felt very 2020.
Yeah. And bravo for that. Now getting back to what you do so well is perspective. You're my perspective writer. I started doing the book and doing the podcast with Adam Duritz because Adam is great at tapping into those those emotions that sometimes we have a hard time expressing. I always joke with him, this was the perfect song when I broke up. Thanks for writing it. It gave me to say things like that. And I know you've written songs like that, but when I hear a song and you just sent me of you playing it live, I assume on this tour, it goes fast. This is what you do so well. And I've written about this about you. You write about the most sentimental, deep emotions, and you never get like squishy or maudlin about it. You tap into those. I don't know how you do it. You even make fun of yourself in the song about how we all heard from our parents, it goes fast. And we're parents. And you've watched your little girls grow up and now young women. I've got a 13-year-old and you're like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
I've known you now for 5 years and I felt like we just met, but you wrote a book and we talked about it throughout the whole writing of the book and that beautiful record I mentioned before, Objects in the Mirror. You capture that in this song. I mean, where do you go to find that? What do you do as a songwriter to find that?
Well, first of all, thank you for saying that. I think there are probably those who would disagree and say that I get too squishy, but I also accept that this is who I am and this is my muse. So here we go.
Keep
and if
going.
it's not for you, okay. But I love that you feel that it's right. And to your question, where do I go to find that?
Yeah.
I don't really. It finds me.
Okay.
I mean,
like what? Like because you live in it? Because you have it around you? Like when you sing a line like...
At this point, I would love to cast off some of that and be like, write cool shit. I'd love to write something that would fit on an Iron and Wine record or a, Nathaniel Rateliff or like, I admire the shit out of these artists. I think that their stuff is cool and it's a little obscure and it doesn't necessarily spell it out. I admire it. But when I sit down and am inspired, really, truly inspired to write, it's because something is surging through me. In this case, with It Goes Fast, I literally said out loud, are we really going to do this right now? I started writing the lyrics and I'm like, am I really going to write this song right now? And I was, seems like only yesterday you climbed up in that bus, picture with a big old K and you smiling back at us. Am I really writing that? I'm not some like hokey country guy. And I think that those guys write good songs a lot of times, but it's like, I'm not some guy who's like, I'm going to write about my kids and blah, blah, blah. Like, no, it's just like, I'm like a New England intellectual who loved Harry Chapin and who probably thinks Cats in the Cradle is the best song ever written. So that's not surprisingly what I'm always chasing. And I name check that in this song because I am really like, holy shit, here I am again, trying to get that song that is that and hoping that I can write it. And this one, I try to turn away from it, but there it is. It just wants me to write it. I have that to say. I have that experience to articulate,
Had the same feeling when I heard Don't Be Hard on Yourself and the songs about your daughters. And then this one, I mean, when you sing, and it's almost like I'll play the clip, but I want people to know what they're looking at when this performance is a true expression of this song. And this is what Stephen was talking about earlier, is that when you're playing a song like this and you're throwing your innards onto the stage, when you sing, Hope I'm Still Around.
I hope I'm there to see it. Yeah.
I hope I'm there to see it. It's like, I think you break up there.
That one gets that always stops me there because the reality is like, I'm not being macabre, but I mean, musicians, we all got the life expectancy is lower, not to mention, I hope I'm there to see it because I'm not home a lot, and once again, I'm not home. I said, I'm going to not do this again. And then second that Toad the Wet Sprocket opportunity came up, I said, I'm in. And then it was the first time in 5 years anybody has shared their audience with me. I mean, I don't get to do that often. And the fact that they did, I've now got 1,000 more books out in the world. That's 20%. I sold 4,000. Now I've sold 5,000 or whatever it is, something like that. It's like, it changes my life, these opportunities. Right, and I'm like, I've got to do this stuff. But it also means that Sophia got her license while I was away. Adeline sprained her ankle, the first kind of thing like that that's happened. These things happen, and I'm not there to see it. So when I sing that line, I'm not like, I am fully invested, and I know that many of the people, when I'm playing to the correct audience that gets what I'm doing, are sitting there going, yeah, I get this, and that's who you want to be with anyway.
Yep. Well, if you need to know why I love Stephen Kellogg's music, watch this. It goes fast, From the Road, just a couple of months ago, I assume.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago.
Seems like only yesterday you climbed up in that bus. Picture with a big old K, and you're smiling back at us. Birthdays and recitals, driving you all over town. We were both so busy, trying not to let you down. But love's a one-way street, I know that's hard to understand. I see you in a rush, busy making all those plans. So if I hold your hand too long, or I embarrass you in class, no, I'm only hanging on, 'cause it goes fast. It goes fast. Cat was in the crib, and I work most every day, fumbling for the words, trying to know what I should say. When was I to push you? Where was I to let you be? If we had each other's eyes, can you imagine what we'd see? But love's a one-way street, I know that's hard to understand. You're always in a rush, busy making all those plans. But all of your best moments and the worst ones too won't last. It's like smoke right through your hands. It goes fast. It goes fast. It goes fast. The day your car rolls out that driveway, doesn't park here anymore, that is the day that we were getting you ready for. But love's a one-way street, and you were made to drive away. I hope I'm there to see it. I hope I'm there to see it when you have your own someday. The difference between then and now, it was shorter than we knew. And if you don't believe me, dear, someday you'll know it's true. We're not the first to feel this way, and we will not be the last. There's something about that old cliche. It goes fast. It goes fast. It goes fast, yeah. Seems like only yesterday I could hear my parents say, do not wish your life away, my son, my son. You make the rules up as you go. Some days it'll feel real slow. Next thing that you know, you're looking back, and it goes fast, yeah. It goes fast. It goes fast.
There it is. It goes fast. Stephen Kellogg, From the Road in 2021. Beautiful song, brother. It's a really beautiful song. And great performance. Again, that's the intensity you see when he's on stage. And that's the next thing I want to talk about before we finish up today is the future for you. The immediate future is you're back on the road to headline and play some shows. And I want to talk about specifically those things. And also how, and you mentioned it, off the air as we were preparing for the end of the show about how you exponentially sold more of your book. We should plug it. Objects in the Mirror is not only a record, it's the name of a book. It's a wonderful memoir series of essays about Stephen being a family man, a dad, a husband, a songwriter, everything that goes along with him. It's a great read. I loved it. So what you got?
Or an Audible. It's an Audible too. I feel like you may have even recorded it because Duritz did the foreword. I feel like you recorded the Audible. Nice Audible for the non-book readers of the world.
Indeed, good plug. All right, so the playing live. Another thing we talked about before we went on, and I want you to address it, is that there is some reticence for people to come out to shows. But I love the fact that in some of the bigger cities, and I think it's starting to extend out, that people have to show Vax cards, that people feel safe when they're in there. They don't have to wear a mask. They can sing along. They can, you could see the people's mouths, singing along with you. So talk about this tour coming up and what your expectations are for it.
Well, yeah, you talk about reticence. I understand it and I share it, and I'm not, going to as many shows as I otherwise would have gone to. But I have just done 2 months, and we did it and it felt safe. And as far as I know, it didn't spread anything. I mean, it really comes down to some ability to show mutual respect and common sense and say music is important enough to us that when you come to town and travel great lengths, we are going to come and I'm going to come, and we're going to sort of work with the various comfort levels. I mean, I don't want anybody to feel strange if they want to wear a mask. But I just went out for 2 months and it was never an issue. We wore a mask when we did the meet and greets and stuff like that. We're close interaction. But I think that it's just so, I know I speak for a lot of artists, like, all right, we're going to get back to business based on faith and trust and a desire that this is so important. This is oxygen for a lot of us. This need to be with others in a communal experience. So let's do it. And that means also, if you are remotely comfortable, you got to show up. You might not be 100% comfortable. You got to trust that the artists you dig are going to create an environment. If you need to ask questions, ask questions. What's going to be the environment? Am I going to be seated with other people? How tight are we going to be? What are you doing? But I know I speak for a lot of artists when I say it's damn hard to sell a ticket right now, and you probably have more space than we'd like you to have. There's more space in these venues. Occasionally you see the Rolling Stones or something and it's packed because there's just so much critical mass that wants to see the Rolling Stones that they're willing to take the risk. But I am very, I'm hoping people show up. I'm hoping people trust that I'm not going to allow a crappy environment to take place where it's not safe. Right. You're going to sit down, you're going to hear the show. We're going to do this right. It's not going to be, hopefully we're not even really have to think about it. We're just going to show up. We're going to do the show. It's going to happen. It'll be good, Right. And so I'm hoping people trust in that,
Right. Now, so one of the things I noticed, I saw you play in the spring, right up here in Vernon, New Jersey. And thanks again for that Zevon. That vinyl is beautiful, man. Thank you so much for that.
Oh, yeah. I wanted you to have that, man.
It's the first Warren Zevon record on Asylum. I had like a promo version, but it was all crackly back from the late 70s. So thank you for that. You gifted it to me. So I saw you play, and I love, and you do this anyway, but it specifically was different that day. You were telling very long stories. You were really presenting the songs in sort of a conversational thing. Now, I noticed in one of your promos for the upcoming tour that you're doing a stories and songs thing. Is that where when people come out to see you, it's going to be a full night of Stephen Kellogg in that way?
Yeah, that's where it's called Sad Songs, Funny Stories. And as I have said in the description, not all the songs will be sad, and unfortunately not all the stories will be funny. But but I do, that is where I'm at. Like building on the book, building on what I want to do. I started it in the spring, and then when I got out on this Toad tour, I thought, okay, I'm playing 30 minutes a night. Is it even possible to do this microcosm? And some nights I only played 4 songs because I really feel like I got things I want to discuss with you. You know, I want you to come out and have a laugh. I want people I can relate to. And kind of kick this thing we're all doing around, you know? Mm-hmm. So that has manifested into full-on stories. And I do spend a part of the show just rapping, you know? So for the people who, you know, don't enjoy a little banter, this isn't probably the tour for you. But I think that it'll help us relax into like, yeah, I'm going to play some music and I'm going to tell you some jokes. I always am, you know, reticent to call it that because I'm not a comedian, but you are going to laugh because that's the medicine, really. Music is the medicine, but laughter is really the medicine, you know? And I think that we're going to do both on this tour. And if that appeals to people, you know, it's also almost all evening with. So it's like, I want these shows to start early. I don't want to be up all night. You know, they're starting at 8 at the latest, but some of them are at 7:30 and 6:30. It's like, I want you to get home and get laid and not be, I don't want the food to kick in. That's who's coming to these shows. If that sounds like a good night to you, go out, have a laugh, hear a little bit of music, get home, get lucky, be in bed in your jammies by 10:30. Like, this is a tour for you. I believe that. And I feel like I might as well just tell people what they're signing up for because maybe that'll get some more asses in seats. I hope it does, you know?
Well, it sounds good to me, man. I hope, and it's so funny because every year, since I've known you, and probably before that because it's tradition, you always play Thanksgiving in New York City. And I've had friends come out. You've been nice enough to give me passes and tickets for friends, but I'm never in the country because my wife's vegan and my daughter's vegan, and that's Turkey Slaughter Day. So we get the hell out of the country where they celebrate that. And it's okay for me because I'll lie on a beach with a cat on my lap or whatever it is. I don't care.
Yeah. A cat on your lap? Do you bring your cat with you, James?
No, but I'm hearkening back to you like you'd rather be in New England with the cat. I'll take the cat to Mexico. Yeah. Thank you very much. But yeah. I always missed your show. And so it's a bummer. Are you going to be playing, say, a Jersey or New York venue that is not the weekend of Thanksgiving? This is just for me, not for the...
Well, yeah, so this year, I was a little bummed. I wanted to do Thanksgiving this year. I wanted to, because we obviously missed it. No, we didn't miss it last year because I did it with Counting Crows. We did we did that weekend. And that was the greatest. And I wanted to kind of put my flagpole back in that this year, but with the tour starting when it did and the availabilities of the venues that would have made sense, it didn't pan out. And I was pushing my agent and manager on that. And then I thought, what if I don't push this? What if I just let shit change? Like, okay, we didn't do it this year. You know, it's hard to let go of things that have worked and have been, but I'm shedding so much other skin and stuff. Why not just go, okay, didn't work this year for whatever reason. So, and then New York, we thought was happening December 30th, also kind of a wild date. That didn't work. We got bumped from the venue we were going to play. And again, my initial reaction was like, damn it. And then I thought, well, okay, what if I do a virtual show that night? So we're going to do the year in review again. It's the only virtual show I'm doing or have done this spring. So I'll do in-person tour December 2nd to December 29th, end with a virtual show broadcast from my basement like we did last time, so that everybody that wants to tune in for a night at Kellogg can. And then we'll pick back up next year, you know, and that'll be the...
Very cool. I like that plan. And I will say, before I let you go, I will say that the way this show is laid out, you inspired it. Is it your friend Devin who runs the thing? Who's the gentleman?
Lee Totten.
Yeah, right. So I'm sorry, it's Lee. Right. So this whole thing with the Zoom and the split, and when you and I did the author, I thought, wow, this would be great to talk to. And it's taken me 30 episodes, but I finally got you on this show, and it's been a damn blast. I think we might have beaten the duets record for 40-something minutes of talking.
Okay, well, it went by in a flash, and anybody that's still watching, I appreciate you listening and tuning in. I love that you did this, James. I think it's so cool. I think you're a champion of art, and I'm so lucky to know you.
Thank you. Right back at you. Be safe on the road. Love to the girls. I love when you sing on the stage with them. It's one of my favorite things I've ever seen on a stage.
Me
and
too.
To your lovely wife, and hopefully I will see you out there. But thanks for giving us a few minutes. And remember, everybody, if you go see a singer-songwriter, just shut the fuck up and listen to
Zip it. Boop. Yeah.
All right, brother.
I love it. See you, man.
See you.